the conversation about Jordan Poole and his continued struggles. Part of the reason they've needed Clay to be the alpha is because Poole has struggled mightily. And, I've been considered the apologist for Poole, which I do think is funny because I was one of the last people to get on the bandwagon for him as he was, making the come up. And, 415, this kind of exemplifies it. Xfinity Mobile text line, JD and Guru, lifelong Warrior fan, season ticket holder. In my opinion, I'd rather have Dante DiVincenzo over JP3 every day of the week. I hope the Warriors can find a way to keep DiVincenzo and offload Poole. Has it gone that dramatically just off of this one season?
Like, I won't tell anybody you need to go pee in a cup when I hear that because we're watching it more times than not. And, did you ever once think when Jordan Poole was at his highest last year, and this is maybe where I went wrong and turned down the wrong, turned on the wrong corner, Jay, 33% from three. Like, I thought he was a little better than that. He may end up better than that, but more times than not, I'm like, damn, I thought you were the splash cousin. And last year at times you were, more times than not. But now when you see DiVincenzo do it with his mind and his body and the big shots, yeah, he's older, he's more seasoned, but I can understand somebody texting to a sports talk show like ours, picking the phone up and calling us. I kind of get that. But you told me, we talked about it, Dante's play, he's earning some pay too.
He's playing too well to be back.
Wow, man.
To be perfect. And look, I think the Warriors would love to have him, but he's going to opt out without a doubt.
And some money offers are coming.
And the most the Warriors can offer him would be the mid-level exception, which would be it's somewhere in this $6.5 million range with raises. Estimating it out here, it's somewhere around 3 years and about $20 million, basically, give or take a little bit, would be the most that the Warriors could offer him.
And we saw this with Peyton. He dipped on us.
Well, and the Warriors had the ability to pay Peyton more because he had already been there.
And didn't do it.
And so to me, at this point, they chose not to. They'd love to have DiVincenzo, but I think DiVincenzo's completely pricing his way out of the range in which the Warriors are going to be able to keep him, regardless of if the Warriors traded him. Like, if you trade Jordan Poole, you're still over the cap and only have a certain means to which you could re-sign the player.
So how much of your gut tells you that if the Warriors didn't decide to pay Poole and have him play out this season for the quote-unquote bag, how do we not know, and maybe we never will, Jay, how do we not know he would have handled that pressure?
Well, we don't.
See, but it sounds like you're giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I'm going to be consistent with what I said last year, and maybe I was wrong about this last year. At first, you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody last year that was not willing to pay.
And that's why Jordan I don't want to be like the guy that's on Poole's neck.
And everybody was, and because seriously, do you remember anybody? I don't remember anybody that was like, you know what, don't pay Jordan Poole.
He wasn't a phenom, but he was damn near close, man.
Make Jordan Poole play it out.
He showed out.
So a little bit of that is revisionist history. Now, you can make the case that okay, it was a mistake, but you can't say you shouldn't have done it necessarily.
No doubt.
Because you had to be screaming that at the time, but if you're going to be screaming it now.
And the reason I brought that up, though, because I feel like you're insinuating he's resting on his laurels because he got the bag.
I don't think he's resting on his laurels. Like, I really don't. I don't think he feels he's a made dude, and there's
I don't feel that way either.
No way to get better.
That's what has me a little concerned.
I got the bag, and I don't have to work as hard. Like, I don't think it's any of that with him. I just think there's a unique set of circumstances where some of it expectation, but the one thing I'll go back to as far as the contract, because I want to make this point. I got a little bit sidetracked on it, is I thought that it was the right move to pay him because I didn't want Poole chasing the money this year. I thought it would be bad if Poole was chasing the money, like playing somebody like somebody with
Thirsty.
Clay back in the fold,
doing too much,
playing like somebody that wanted to be paid. And to me, that had the ability to be more problematic. I didn't want him to have to worry about it. I wanted him to, all right, he knew he got paid. Now you can settle into this sixth man role. You can be more accepting of the sixth man role where you're getting your starts for Steph. You're getting your starts for Clay. and be comfortable. I think we do underestimate, though, and I've been less in on the punch and the ramifications of the punch and everything, but I still think, like, how can you not go through that if you're Poole, as much as you push through it, as much as you try to get back to normal, and not have it somehow, some way, just still impact you a little bit throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, you know what? And
not an excuse, by the way. At some point, you do have to suck it up and get over it, and you're going to be making $30 million.
And let's be honest, there was another side to that punch. The guy that delivered it, the mailman, and that was Draymond Green, who's also shared with us, get this, Jay, how him being on the other end of delivering that punch has changed his, affected his leadership capabilities.
It has, and he's said as much.
And he's the one that got off.
That he can't have the voice that he once had, or he's afraid to speak like he used to.
And again, I'm not at practice, but on the court, I feel like I see that demonstrative Dre.
No,
do you feel like
maybe you don't see it as much behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Maybe on the court he does it in a way
more important.
But behind the scenes, you don't see it as much because he doesn't want to overstep or think people, it's going down that road again where, something might jump off. I mean, I think he's got to be cognizant of that. I guess the other part about Poole, going back to him, is doesn't Jordan Poole get a little bit of leeway? Like, seriously, like, doesn't he get, like, I get everybody on the text line and people that are calling that say, at some point, you get the bag, you can't be the same player. Like, I don't even disagree with that. But don't you get a year or a year and a half to grow into that when you're getting a 4-year contract extension off of the final year you have, which is this year on the deal? Like, he technically isn't a $30 million player this year. Like, don't you get a year? Don't you get a year to grow it? Like, isn't there some amount of time? Maybe it's not 2. Maybe 1's too long. But don't you get some amount of time to grow into? You just got paid. You're dealing with the punch.
Well, wow.
Sometimes you're the starting point guard on the defending champions playing for Steph Curry. Sometimes you're supposed to be this super sixth man. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I think at times Warrior fans do hold Jordan Poole to a championship standard as a starter. And I think they do it with this team. Like, all the angst off the Laker loss. Like, I think sometimes
they were undermanned. Snotty reminded me that people were hot, but dude, they were without something.
Like, it just like I feel like the Warrior fans do hold this team to a championship standard, even though the championship players aren't necessarily there all the time.
Okay, I'll say this to that because you set me up with it. You do get a benefit of the doubt, but when you look at this club and the growth that Jordan Poole, nobody can take that from him, Jay, that he made last year right in front of our eyes. It was Reggie Miller. It was Shaq. It was Kenny. Everybody saw Jordan Poole. So for the ones like myself, if we thought he's done this 4 years in a row and we're somewhat disappointed, the one thing that rubs me the wrong way this season is the opportunity's been there. Like Steph's out, Wiggins, and here
I think that's
go.
part of the problem.
You know
though.
what I mean? It's like, oh, Jay, you already showed us you can handle it. Go get him, fella. And how many times has he had the ball with the game on the line and they're bloop, bloop? We saw Steph throw a towel down when he was in street clothes. Like, come on, Jordan. We know it's not going in every time, but don't trip over your own feet. Like, those things are a reminder of just how young he is. But the way you just said it, the benefit of the doubt, Jay, he does deserve that, and I'm a victim of not giving it to him because they need the expertise that he displayed last year.
The numbers have been there for Poole when Curry has been out going back to the first time. They haven't been there this time.
Right.
And that's where they've relied more on
still
Clay.
One game under in the 23.
But again, 11 and 12 in the 23, which is a statement that he's doing something right. And I think the end of game situations have, in a lot of ways,
because he can create better than Clay.
Offset. Yeah. I think the end of games have offset the good that he has done when he has played well and helped them win games. Because you go back to December and that homestand, and he was putting up 28, 29 a night to help them win games. And I think there isn't a credit given for those wins, and there is too much of a negative attached to he fumbled the ball. And look, it's bad. It's bad. And I think there's a couple of good points here. 415. A raise is performance-based. Are you going to give someone a raise and wait 5 years to perform? And no, I'm not saying 5 years, but I'm saying, do you get a year and a half? Do you get this year and part of next year? To me, and maybe you don't.
650, yeah.
Maybe you don't.
With the great text, JD, and I feel like he's talking to me and maybe some others on the Xfinity mobile text line. Y'all better stop hating on Poole, and it goes to your point you just made. He has the hardest job in the NBA, and that's because you're saying he's doing double duty, or sometimes they ask him to do different things. But I feel like, damn, you're on a team,
but you're not though. You're not on a great team when you're the starting point guard. Like that's the truth. You're not because Steph's not playing, so you're not on a great team.
And him and Clay for whatever. I wonder how Clay would answer that, or Jordan. If you ask about how they play with each other, they play off each other.
I'll get your take on this. We'll get to the phones. We got a bunch of people that want to talk. When it looks at times as if Steph and Clay are on the floor together, especially early in games, almost like they're fighting each other to see who's going to be getting the shot.
Okay. Wow.
Like it's who's going to and I think that may have been part of last night when Kerr pulled Poole out of the game real quick and had a little chat with him and put him back in the game because Poole was not being aggressive at all. And then
I was like, what are you're floating.
But I think there's times where Poole goes into a game thinking, well, Clay's going to chuck it. Clay's unabashed going to chuck it, and nobody has a problem with it. And so I'm going to make sure I'm getting everybody involved. I'll get into the flow as the game goes on.
We need you to get buckets.
Well, and you're right. They do need him to get buckets. But so I think Kerr, and again, I could be totally off. It could have been defense. It could have been anything. But I think it was, you got to be aggressive. And then he was aggressive, but you look up at the end of the night, and it's not a great night in terms of the overall line.